Casey Gray here from The Conscious Builder, and what you're about to watch is a replay where Heather Jeffery of Re4M interviews myself for her Earth Week interview series. Heather is the owner of Re4M Design and Fabrication, where she turns commercial and industrial waste into furnishings, fixtures, and displays for other businesses. We've had Heather on the podcast and on the YouTube channel, so you can check out the interviews that we've done with her there. You can also check out the link to her great content that she's doing down below. In this conversation, she has a bunch of questions. It's a short and sweet interview. However, I also get into what my sustainability goals are for the future. So if you haven't already, hit subscribe, hit the bell button so you get notifications and all these great conversations that I'm having with people and industry experts all around the world, including our newest addition to our videos, which is the Construction Tech Nerd, which we do weekly. So obviously you want to stay up to date on technology. Technology is growing exponentially, so you don't want to miss out on those videos. But for now, let's get into today's conversation.
Hello, everyone. So welcome to another Earth Week interview with Eco Businesses. And today we're talking with Casey from The Conscious Builder. Thank you so much for your time today, Casey. I know you have a busy schedule, so this is perfect. I'm so excited to talk to you and kind of hear what you have to say about The Conscious Builder. So for everyone out there listening, we are doing, we as in Re4M Design and Fabrication, we are hosting a Earth Week campaign, and basically we're going to be talking with a bunch of eco businesses. So if you haven't checked it out already, go to the Facebook event page, which is Earth Week leading up to Earth Day in Ottawa, and you'll see all the interviews we've had. So like I mentioned, I'm super looking forward to this one with Casey. And let's kick things off with, if you want to introduce yourself, Casey, and tell us a bit about the Conscious Builder.
Sure. The Conscious Builder, we've been in business going on 10 years now. We focus on sustainable renovations and custom homes. Our project size have been growing over the years, obviously. So now we're really doing like large scale energy retrofits and net zero homes, passive homes. I think as far as I'm aware, we are the only builder in the city that has built multiple certified passive homes, not to be confused with passive solar homes, which we've been talking about recently and trying to clear the air on some of that because it's very different. A certified passive house is different. We won't get into those details, but anyways, so yeah, we're, that's mainly what we focus on, and we're in the Ottawa area and surrounding areas. So we have lots going on our YouTube channel as well, so you can see what's going on there, and including a first official series that we'll be launching, which is called the 3-Day Cottage. So that's the best place to see all the stuff that we're up to.
Yeah, so cool. It sounds like there's so much content surrounding eco homes and passive homes. I'm sure people could just get lost for hours, maybe even days on your content. I'm sure you have so much to share, probably way too much to share in about whatever we're going to be doing 20 minutes-ish. So I encourage everyone to check out The Conscious Builder for sure. I've seen a couple of his videos, and it definitely is eye-opening in terms of the technology and everything that's kind of out there for your homes. Yeah, I kind of was curious, actually. I want to ask you, Casey, what made you want to start The Conscious Builder?
Well, it didn't start as The Conscious Builder. It just started as another renovation company like everybody else. So when I started the company, I think I was 23, 24, somewhere in there. And I just wanted to do good work and make good money and do my own projects, right? That's what every 20-year-old wants to do, I guess, when you're young and ambitious. And that's where it started. The Conscious Builder, though, didn't come until later. And it came when my wife and I found out that we were pregnant with our first son and only son. We are one and done. But anyways, he's been our greatest teacher. But he was really the catalyst for this, because once I knew that I was going to have a son, then my mindset changed. Like, children change everything, right? Then I started thinking beyond myself, right? Before, when I started the company, I said, this is what I want to do. And it was all me sort of thing. But then after that, it's like, oh no, it's not about me. I have somebody that's going to be looking up to me. I have to lead by example. And then I started asking myself questions like, what do I want him to believe? If I'm going to tell him that he can be and do whatever he wants in life, I have to show him that. I have to show him that I'm doing the same thing, because anyone with children knows that children don't do what you say, they do what you do. So if you have bad habits, they'll pick those up too. But if you have good habits, they'll pick those up, right? So And that was really the catalyst. And at that point, my wife and I started doing a lot of personal development, and it evolved from there as we evolved.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, what better reason to live better than a child? I cannot say I've learned or had that experience. I'm sure one day it will happen, and I'll realize everything what you're talking about, and then I come back to you and be like, you were so right.
We'll have you back on
fantastic.
the show at that point too, and we can have that conversation.
Oh yeah. That sounds super to me. So I am also wanting to ask you, what environmental initiatives is the Conscious Builder taking? And I know you touched on it briefly about passive homes, but for people who don't really understand what passive homes are, I'm wondering if you can maybe describe that in a further way.
Yeah, I guess I'll start with your first question with regards to the initiatives. Mm-hmm. I guess if you want to call it an initiative, like our main initiative is we only do projects that are aiming for a higher standard. We don't do projects that are minimum building code. We were before, and we were taking some on, and to some extent they were kind of filling in the gaps because some people just wanted to work with us, and not every project has the ability to do something that's going to help the environment. If you're redoing a kitchen, yes, you can choose better products, but you can't necessarily improve the performance of your home. So that's where we were really focused on. So our main initiative is that we're building our business around doing these types of projects, as well as educating other people who are interested, right? By putting everything on our podcast, on our YouTube channel, interviewing industry experts like yourself. It's been a while since we had you on anyways, we should probably have you on again. But talking about all the other initiatives that are going on in the world. And then I'm even doing videos now that are like weekly tech updates, because technology is something that I'm really interested in. And that's, I think I believe construction is one area that hasn't really been significantly changed. We're still, for the most part, framing houses or building houses the same way we did it 150, 200 years ago. Like, we're renovating a home right now that's 160 years old. It's a stone home, and they still framed it with 2x4s inside. You know what I mean? And so they added insulation. Now all we're doing is adding more insulation, and we're more aware of building science and how your wall assembly needs to breathe and or allow vapor to travel through it and all those things, right? So we've improved the building science, but we haven't improved how we do it yet. And I think those are things that can change a lot. So that's our main initiative, is really, I guess, on the education side. And we recently launched the Conscious Builder Academy as well, more designed for contractors as well, because I believe that's where we can have make a big difference, is by helping other contractors make sure that they stay in business, stay profitable, know what they're doing, get really focused on what they're good at, and continue to grow from there. Because business is not easy, as you know now, and they don't teach you business in carpentry school, but I also heard that they don't really teach you business in business school either. So.
Yeah, I may have heard that through the grapevine once or twice before too. Yeah, that's fantastic. Actually, that's a perfect segue into my next question, which is, what do you find really needs restructuring in the construction industry in terms of environmental sense? Like, if you could think of one thing, I guess
if I'm thinking of, if I'm understanding your question correctly, I think the way we can have the biggest impact is if we increase the building code, right? Because if you think about it, like, building code is the worst home that you're allowed to build by law. That's what it is, right? If you can't build a house, but that's like the bottom of the totem pole in terms of performance that you're allowed to build. The biggest hurdle I see is that building code needs to increase if we're going to have any sort of significant impact on the environment, not only from a energy performance and efficiency performance, sustainability side of things, but also on the materials as well, and looking at the carbon footprint side of things. That might be a little bit harder, but in either case, somebody needs to take the risk and just say, look, we need to build this way. I'm going to change building code. This is happening 2 years, right? Have some sort of plan, but right now the plan is too slow, because if you make it voluntary, people aren't going to do it because it costs much. Like, there's still people that come to us and say they want certain things, but at the end of the day, they're still going to pay more for the pretty makeup products versus improving the performance or spending more on a higher performing window, right? So not everyone's like that. Most people that come to us now are thinking differently. But I always say we kind of build for the 1% of the 1%, right? It's the people who agree can afford our services, because not everybody can afford hiring a general contractor, especially now with the way prices are going, materials. But not everybody is interested in what we're doing either, right? And that's why we're trying to get it out there. It's not just about sustainability, it's about health, it's about us and our children, like I mentioned before, and them, right? If we're going to have a big impact, we need to make drastic changes now. And in my opinion, a drastic change is really improving that building code right as soon as possible. We can't continue to wait.
Yeah. That is such a good point. Honestly, when I was thinking about that question, I was thinking maybe he'll answer like reducing the waste that comes from the construction industry, but I didn't even think that really we should be focusing on like the bottom line, where it all kind of stems from, because you're so right. If you are purchasing materials that last longer, of course, like you're not going to have to replace them as sooner, which means less waste in the long run. So I really love your point about that. And when it comes to changing the building code, it just sounds like it would take a long time. So how does that even happen? How does a building code change? Is it a board of directors in the construction industry, or how?
I don't know the exact I know there's a lot of politics involved, right? Because there's a lot of big builders and a lot of people at the table. Because the thing is, if you change a building code, I get it. Like adding $5,000 a door to somebody who builds, 1,000 homes a year, that's a lot of money, right? And they're not making a killing on every single one of those homes, right? They're making money on the volume. And, people think that they're making a lot of money, and they're not, because it takes a long time to take a piece of farmland and turn it into a development, right? There's a lot of time and costs, and there's a lot of red tape and hurdles and all sorts of things, right? So that cost is actually that's kind of beyond what I'm interested, or what I'm doing. I'm trying to get people just to think differently and actually ask for something better, right? Because as long as we're continuing to ask for those things, that's what we're going to get. Until there's more demand, then there's not going to be the product, really, right? So to change a building code, it's a Canada wide, right? Obviously we have the Ontario building code too. There's also Canadian. But I think, in Ontario, there's a lot of moving parts. I don't know who makes the final decision. I'm sure there's politics involved, but I think somebody needs to, like I said, I'm sure it's on the political side. Somebody needs to just say, no, this is what's happening and this is when we're doing it. And there's going to be pushback, but at the end of the day, somebody makes a final decision. I don't know who that is, but somebody's
it's
they got to be hated at first, and then in 10 years from now, they're going to be everyone's favorite person, right? So who's
I totally agree. It's probably like the same thing as the person who decided plastic bags are banned, right? Yeah. Like they're just banned now. You have no other choice, but you have to bring your own bag. And it's those small steps that make a difference. Like one day someone will make the decision. Building code is going up, and then
and there's a step, right? Because every 5 years a building code increases anyways, and they have a plan to get to net zero by 2030.
Good.
So there is certain things, but net zero isn't really that difficult, right? It's only 30% better than where we're at right now. And it's only really net zero ready unless you put solar panels on. So I still think that there's something, but that also doesn't necessarily get us off fossil fuels, right? So maybe it's like the first thing is like, well, we're banning natural gas. We're not putting natural gas, but I know that's a whole other, people will be up in arms about that, right? Because like I said, I don't understand all the moving parts involved, but to me, that's like, okay, well, if you don't ban it, then the carbon tax that everyone's been talking about makes a lot of sense. Sure, I have to drive a truck, right? That's what I need to do, but I would happily pay a carbon tax to drive that truck, and I'll buy the electric truck when it comes out, right? Which are coming out in the next couple of years. But I think somebody needs to start doing like putting the carbon tax. All right, you take the carbon tax. You want to burn natural gas in your house? Sure. You're just going to pay more for it. Right now, natural gas is so cheap that why would somebody want to go to electricity? Electricity is expensive in Ontario for the most part. But I'll tell you that after almost 11 years in business, we've only ever built 2 houses that have natural gas. And that's the beginning, right? So every house except for 2 that we built has been fossil fuel free. So it's possible, and it doesn't need to cost you an arm and a leg, right? The technology is here. We can do it, and it's easy.
That's so cool. I know for myself, I'm definitely interested in learning more about those kinds of like low carbon footprint energy forms in terms of housing. So I'll be checking out some of your videos because I want to learn more about it. It's so neat. I kind of had just one more thought for you, and I was curious if you have any specific sustainable future goals for the Conscious Builder.
Yeah, so I'll be doing, I guess it's more on the personal side. We are looking for land. So we'll be building another certified passive home, my wife and I. So I don't know when that's going to be because who knows when the land comes up, and land is really expensive where we're looking right now. So hopefully there's not bidding wars. But anyway, so we're just being patient, waiting for the right piece to come up. So that'll be documented because we'll do a whole YouTube series on that once we start to get underway. But the next big thing we're doing is really the Conscious Builder Academy. So that's launching to help other business. It's not just based around sustainability in the sense of building green, but sustainability and making sure that your business is sustainable, right? So like I said, it's geared towards other contractors. And then eventually we'll start adding on more in terms of the building, depending on who ends up signing up, because any contractor could really take advantage of this and get the course. So that's just at consciousbuilderacademy.com. We did a soft launch, so it's there as of Friday. So you can get, there's a free course up there you can get, which is the 5 things that I wish I learned, or I wish I knew when I started my business. So that one's there. And then we'll continue with our YouTube, right? So we have big plans and goals for expanding YouTube and just continuing to educate people. The biggest thing I find is that like we're still doing a lot of projects and we're busier than ever, but I see a lot more potential on the media side and education side and helping people and bringing that awareness to people.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Someone has to do it, right?
Yeah. There's only so many houses that we can renovate and build in a year, right? And I don't necessarily want to have 500 employees. Like we have a good team. We still need a few more guys, but we're at a point where we're starting to work really well together, and we're getting all those positions worked out well. So we don't want to go too big because then you end up service drops off for what we do. Then we start to get into development and all sorts of other stuff, but that's a whole different world.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's so great. Well, thanks so much for all this information about yourself, about the Conscious Builder. It's very interesting to learn about all these awesome local eco-green businesses in Ottawa. So for those of you who kind of missed the beginning, I'm Heather, and I'm the owner of Re4M Design and Fabrication. We do eco-friendly furnishings, fixtures, and displays. And this week we are hosting the Earth Week leading up to Earth Day event, which involves some interviews with local green businesses. And today we spoke with Casey from the Conscious Builder. And if you missed it, you can definitely check it out on Facebook. It should be up there. And you can watch the whole thing from the beginning in a little bit. And yeah, we'd be happy to answer any questions you have. And I'm sure Casey won't mind if you drop him a line if you have any questions about anything like that. But check out his social media platforms, his YouTube channel, and we'll post it on the link too of the video after it posts on Facebook. And thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. And thanks, Casey, for your time. It was so awesome talking with you.
Thank you, Heather, for taking the initiative and doing this. So you're always amazing when it comes to this Earth Week too. So
thanks. I try. Thanks so much. We'll talk soon.
Glad you watched this until the very end. If you haven't already, hit subscribe, hit the bell button, and remember to live consciously.